You know what absolutely infuriates me? When WWE has pure gold sitting right in front of them and they refuse to acknowledge it until the last possible second, and then when they finally decide to pull the trigger, they act like they are doing us all some massive favor. Well, what happened on Raw this week is the perfect example of WWE's backwards thinking, and I'm about to break down exactly why this situation with Abafimi should make every single wrestling fan both excited and absolutely furious at the same time. If you're not ready to hear the truth about what WWE has been doing with one of the most dominant forces in professional wrestling today, then you might want to click away now. But if you want to know the real story behind Abafimi's explosive Raw debut and why it took WWE this long to finally do what they should have done months ago, then you better strap in because this is going to blow your mind. And before we go any further, make sure you subscribe to this channel right now because we're bringing you the unfiltered truth that mainstream wrestling media won't tell you. Abafimi appeared on Raw this week. Let me repeat that because it's something that should have happened a long time ago. Abafimi, the most dominant NXT champion we've seen in years, the man who has been destroying everyone put in front of him, the future of WWE whether they want to admit it or not, finally made his first appearance on the main roster. And he didn't just show up to shake hands and smile for the camera. He took down Bronson, one of the most destructive forces on Raw, in a backstage segment that has everyone talking. The footage shows Abafimi absolutely manhandling Bronson like he was nothing, tossing him around like a ragdoll, demonstrating the kind of raw power and intensity that makes you sit up and pay attention. But here's what makes me angry, and I mean really angry. This should have happened 6 months ago. This should have happened a year ago. Abafimi has been ready for the main roster since the day he stepped foot in NXT. Anyone with eyes could see that this man is special. Anyone with even a basic understanding of what makes a superstar could recognize that Abafimi has everything you could possibly want in a top-level talent. He's got the size, standing at 6 feet 4 inches and weighing 275 pounds of pure muscle. He's got the athleticism that defies his massive frame. He's got the charisma that makes people stop whatever they are doing and watch when he's on screen. He's got the in-ring ability to have great matches with anyone regardless of their style. And most importantly, he's got that intangible quality that you can't teach, that presence that makes him feel like a big deal every single time he appears. So why has WWE kept this man in NXT for so long? Why have they allowed one of their most valuable assets to languish in what is essentially their minor league system when he's clearly ready to compete at the highest level? The answer is going to make you mad, and it should make you mad, because it's the same reason WWE makes most of their terrible decisions. Politics, bureaucracy, and an outdated mindset about how stars should be developed. There are people in WWE management who still believe that everyone needs to spend a certain amount of time in NXT regardless of whether they are actually ready for the main roster or not. There are people who think that rushing someone to Raw or SmackDown is always a mistake, even when that person is clearly head and shoulders above everyone else in the developmental system. Let me give you some context about who Abafimi is and why his appearance on Raw taking down Bronson is such a massive deal. Abafimi has been the NXT champion for over 200 days. During that time, he has defeated every single challenger put in front of him. We're not talking about close matches where he barely scraped by. We're talking about dominant, convincing victories where he made his opponents look like they had no business being in the ring with him. He's beaten former NXT champions, he's beaten independent wrestling darlings, he's beaten WWE developmental prospects who were supposed to be the next big thing. And he's done it all with a level of ease that makes you wonder if there's anyone in NXT who can actually challenge him. His title reign has been characterized by pure dominance. When Abafimi defends his championship, you don't wonder if he's going to win. You wonder how badly he's going to destroy his opponent. That's the kind of aura he has. That's the kind of presence he brings. He doesn't just beat people, he conquers them. He doesn't just win matches, he makes statements. Every single defense of his NXT championship has been an exhibition of power, skill, and intensity that reminds you of the great dominant champions of wrestling history. People compare him to Brock Lesnar in terms of his physical dominance. People compare him to Batista in terms of his presence and charisma. People compare him to Bobby Lashley in terms of his athletic ability despite his size. And all of those comparisons are valid because Abafimi has elements of all of those legendary performers. But here's where WWE's incompetence really shines through, and this is what should make you furious. While Abafimi has been demolishing everyone in NXT, WWE has been calling up other developmental talents to the main roster. Talents who aren't as ready as Aba. Talents who don't have the same ceiling as Aba. Talents who aren't generating the same kind of buzz and excitement as Aba. And those talents get to Raw or SmackDown, and what happens? They flounder. They get lost in the shuffle. They get booked in meaningless matches that don't go anywhere. They lose the momentum they had in NXT because WWE doesn't know how to properly integrate new talent into the main roster environment. Meanwhile, Abafimi stays in NXT, continuing to dominate, continuing to prove that he's ready, continuing to show everyone that he should be on the biggest stage possible. And WWE just ignores it. They just keep him down there, having him defend his title against opponents who can't touch him, wasting everyone's time because it's abundantly clear that there's no one left in NXT who poses a credible threat to him. It's gotten to the point where his NXT title defenses aren't even interesting anymore because everyone knows he's going to win. There's no drama, no suspense, no reason to believe that anyone can take that championship from him. So when Abafimi finally appeared on Raw this week, my immediate reaction wasn't just excitement. It was relief mixed with frustration. Relief that WWE finally came to their senses and decided to bring up someone who should have been on the main roster ages ago. But frustration that it took them this long to figure out what everyone else already knew. Frustration that they wasted months of Abafimi's career keeping him in a place where he had already proven everything he needed to prove. Frustration that WWE's developmental system is so backwards that they keep their most ready talents down while promoting people who aren't as prepared. Now let's talk about what actually happened on Raw because the execution of Abafimi's first main roster appearance tells you a lot about how WWE views him and what their plans might be. The segment took place backstage, which is interesting because it wasn't a big in-ring debut with fanfare and commentary building him up. It was a more organic moment, and in some ways, that's actually better. Bronson Reed was backstage, probably talking trash or causing problems like he usually does, and suddenly Abafimi appeared. No music, no announcement, just Abafimi showing up in the backstage area. And the confrontation was exactly what you'd want it to be. Bronson Reed is not a small man. He's nearly 400 pounds and has been booked as an absolute monster on Raw. He's the kind of guy who destroys people. He's run through multiple opponents and established himself as someone you don't want to mess with. So when Abafimi showed up and went face to face with Bronson Reed, there was immediate tension because these are two massive, intimidating physical specimens standing there staring each other down. The crowd could feel that something big was about to happen. And then it happened. According to reports from people who were there and from the footage that's circulating, Abafimi and Bronson Reed got into a physical altercation, and Aba absolutely dominated. We're talking about Abafimi throwing Bronson Reed around like he was a cruiserweight. We're talking about Aba demonstrating strength that made everyone watching realize that they are dealing with someone on a completely different level. Bronson Reed tried to fight back, tried to use his size and power to his advantage, but Aba was just too much. The segment ended with Bronson Reed laid out and Abafimi standing tall, having made an immediate impact in his first appearance on Monday Night Raw. The crowd reaction to this segment has been overwhelmingly positive. Social media exploded with people talking about Abafimi. Wrestling Twitter was going crazy with people saying that WWE finally got something right. YouTube reaction videos were popping up left and right with people breaking down the segment and predicting big things for Aba's future. The buzz and excitement around this one backstage segment is exactly the kind of response WWE should want when they debut new talent. People are interested. People are engaged. People want to see more of Abafimi immediately. But here's my concern, and this is where my frustration with WWE really comes into play. WWE has a terrible track record of following up on hot debuts. They've had countless situations where they debut someone in a big way, get everyone excited, and then they completely drop the ball on the follow-through. They either book the person in a way that kills their momentum, or they just forget about them for a few weeks, or they put them in a storyline that doesn't make sense. I desperately hope that doesn't happen with Abafimi, but based on WWE's history, I'm not holding my breath. The Bronson Reed confrontation is the perfect starting point for Aba's main roster run because it immediately establishes him as a serious threat. Bronson Reed has been protected on Raw. He's been booked strongly. He's beaten multiple established stars. So having Abafimi come in and manhandle him sends a clear message that Aba is not just another new face, he's someone who is on a different level. It's smart booking in that regard. It's giving Aba the kind of debut that makes people sit up and take notice. What WWE needs to do now, and this is crucial, is keep that momentum going. They need to have Aba appear on Raw again next week. They need to continue building his presence. They need to put him in situations where he can showcase his abilities and his character. They can't do what they've done with so many other call-ups where they debut them with a big moment and then forget about them for 3 weeks. Consistency is key when you're establishing a new star, and WWE has to understand that. The potential for Abafimi on the main roster is limitless. Think about the matches he could have. Think about the feuds he could be in. Abafimi versus Gunther would be an absolute dream match, two dominant champions with completely different styles going head-to-head. Abafimi versus Seth Rollins would be fascinating because of the size and style contrast. Abafimi versus Drew McIntyre would be a war between two physical powerhouses. Abafimi versus Centimeter Punk if he's still around would be incredible from a storytelling perspective. The possibilities are endless, and that's what makes Abar's call-up so exciting. But WWE has to be smart about how they use him. They can't just throw him into random matches with no story behind them. They can't just make him another guy on the roster. They need to protect his aura of dominance. They need to make sure that when Abafimi is in a match, it feels important. They need to make sure that his opponents are credible but that Abar is always presented as the favorite to win. That's how you build a star. That's how you create someone that fans genuinely believe could be a world champion. One of the things that makes Abafimi so special is his look. In an era where a lot of wrestlers are smaller and rely more on athleticism than size, Abar stands out. He looks like a warrior. He looks like someone from another era of wrestling when men were men and physicality mattered. But he's not just a big guy who can only do power moves. He's incredibly athletic for his size. He can move in ways that men his size shouldn't be able to move. He's got agility and coordination that makes his matches exciting to watch because you never know what he's going to do next. His finishing move, the powerbomb he calls the fall from grace, is devastating. It's one of those moves that looks absolutely brutal every single time he does it. When Abafimi hits someone with the fall from grace, they stay down. There's no kicking out at 2.5. There's no miraculous recovery. It's a finish that actually finishes matches, which is how it should be. WWE needs to protect that move on the main roster. They need to make sure it stays devastating. They need to make sure that when Abar hits it, the match is over. The storyline possibilities with Abafimi taking down Bronson Reed are really interesting. Are they setting up a proper feud between these two? That would make a lot of sense because both men are physical monsters who can have hard-hitting, intense matches. A feud between Abafimi and Bronson Reed could be built around the idea of who is the most dominant force on Raw. It could be a series of matches that get increasingly violent and brutal. It could culminate in some kind of gimmick match at a pay-per-view where they can really let loose and show what they are capable of. Or is this just a statement by Abafimi to announce his arrival? Is this him saying that he's here and everyone on the Raw roster better take notice? If that's the case, then WWE needs to follow up by having other wrestlers react to what Abar did. You need guys in the locker room talking about this new threat. You need established stars acknowledging that there's someone new and dangerous in the mix. You need to create an atmosphere where Abafimi feels like a big deal, not just another wrestler. What concerns me is whether WWE's creative team understands how to book someone like Abafimi. The temptation with big, powerful wrestlers is to book them in comedy segments or to have them lose to smaller, more established stars to show that size doesn't matter. That would be absolutely disastrous for Abar. His entire appeal is based on his dominance, on his physical superiority, on the idea that when you step in the ring with him, you're in serious trouble. If WWE starts booking him to lose to guys half his size through roll-ups or countouts or disqualifications, they'll kill everything that makes him special. The other concern is whether WWE will give Abafimi actual storylines or if they'll just have him be a guy who shows up and has matches with no context. One of the problems with WWE's booking in recent years is that they often treat their roster like action figures that they just smash together without building proper stories. Abar needs stories. He needs motivations. He needs reasons for doing what he does. Even if those reasons are simple, they need to exist. Maybe he's here to prove he's the most dominant force in WWE. Maybe he's here to collect championships. Maybe he has a specific target he wants to destroy. Whatever it is, there needs to be some narrative thread that gives fans a reason to invest in his journey. The NXT Championship situation is also interesting to consider. Is Abafimi vacating the NXT Championship now that he's appeared on Raw, or is he going to pull double duty for a while? Historically, when WWE calls someone up from NXT, they usually drop the NXT title pretty quickly. But with Abar's dominant reign, it would be kind of anticlimactic for him to just vacate the belt without losing it in the ring. Maybe WWE will have him drop the title at the next NXT Premium Live event and then fully transition to Raw. That would make the most sense from a storyline perspective. What I really hope is that WWE doesn't overthink this. Abafimi's formula for success is simple. Put him in matches with credible opponents, let him destroy them, make him look dominant and unstoppable, and build to an eventual world championship run. That's it. It's not complicated. You don't need to give him a complicated gimmick or a manager or put him in a stable. Just let him be the physical specimen that he is and let his actions speak for themselves. Sometimes the best characters in wrestling are the simplest ones. The timing of Abafimi's main roster debut is also interesting to analyze. WWE is heading towards WrestleMania season, which is the most important time of the year for the company. Debuting Abar now gives them several months to build him up before WrestleMania, where he could potentially be in a significant match. Maybe he doesn't main event his first WrestleMania, but he could certainly be in a match that makes people take notice. Having him dominate through the Royal Rumble season, maybe even having him make an impact in the Royal Rumble match itself, would be a great way to continue building his credibility. Another thing to consider is how the rest of the Raw roster is going to react to Abafimi. You've got guys like Seth Rollins, Drew McIntyre, Damian Priest, and others who are established main eventers on Raw. How are they going to view this new threat? Are they going to try to test him? Are they going to try to form alliances against him? Are they going to acknowledge him as a legitimate contender? The interactions between Aba and these established stars will be crucial in determining how quickly he ascends up the card. I also think about the potential for Abafimi to be involved in faction warfare. Raw has several factions and groups operating right now. Could Aba align himself with one of them? Or is he better as a lone wolf who doesn't need anyone's help? Personally, I think Aba works best as a solo act, at least initially. His entire presentation is based on individual dominance and power. Putting him in a group might dilute that. Let him establish himself as a singular force first, and then maybe down the line you could explore other options. The comparison to other dominant forces in WWE history is inevitable. People are already comparing Abafimi to legends like Batista, Bobby Lashley, and Brock Lesnar. Those are lofty comparisons, but they are not unwarranted. Aba has the physical tools to be mentioned in the same breath as those guys. What he needs now is the booking and the opportunities to prove that he belongs in that conversation. WWE has all the pieces in place. They have a talented, ready-made star. All they have to do is not screw it up. The fan reaction to Abafimi has been overwhelmingly positive, which is a great sign. Wrestling fans can be cynical and hard to please, but when someone comes along who feels fresh and exciting, fans are willing to get behind them. Aba has that fresh, exciting quality. He doesn't feel like someone WWE has manufactured or overthought. He feels authentic and legitimate. He feels like someone who would be a star in any era of wrestling. That's a rare quality, and WWE would be foolish not to capitalize on it. What happens in the coming weeks will determine whether Abafimi becomes the star he should be or if he becomes another cautionary tale of WWE mismanaging talent. The groundwork has been laid with this Bronson Reed confrontation. The interest is there from the fans. The potential is undeniable. Now it's up to WWE's creative team to do their job and give Aba the platform and the stories he needs to succeed. If they do that, we could be looking at the next major main event star in WWE. If they don't, it'll be another example of WWE wasting an incredible opportunity. I'm choosing to be optimistic about Abafimi's future on Raw, but that optimism is tempered by years of watching WWE make questionable decisions with their talent. I want to believe that they've learned from past mistakes. I want to believe that they recognize how special Aba is. I want to believe that they are going to give him the push he deserves. But I also know that WWE has disappointed us before, and they could easily do it again. That's why it's so important for fans to make their voices heard. If you want to see Abafimi succeed, if you want to see him get the opportunities he deserves, you need to engage with his content. Watch his matches, talk about him on social media, buy his merchandise when it becomes available. Show WWE that there's money to be made with Abafimi and they'll be more likely to invest in his push. The fact that this is even a conversation we need to have is frustrating. The fact that we have to hope WWE doesn't mess up someone who is so obviously talented and ready is a sad commentary on the state of the company's creative process. But that's where we are. Abafimi has made his first appearance on Raw, he's made an impact by taking down Bronson Reed, and now we wait to see what WWE does next. Make sure you're subscribed to this channel because we're going to be following Aba's journey on the main roster every step of the way. We'll break down his matches, analyze his booking, call out WWE when they make mistakes, and celebrate when they get things right. This is just the beginning of the Abafimi era, and if WWE plays their cards right, it's going to be something special.